Rome fell not to savage hordes, but to allies it had armed and betrayed. The empire's greatest defenders became its destroyers after Rome executed its own best general and shattered centuries of trust with the very warriors protecting its borders. On August 24, 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. For the first time in 8 centuries, foreign warriors breached Rome's walls. Alaric's Visigothic forces poured through the Salarian Gate as the Eternal City's defenses crumbled. The streets that had witnessed triumph after triumph now echoed with chaos. 3 days of systematic plundering followed. Churches offered sanctuary, and Alaric, a Christian himself, ordered them respected. Yet the psychological blow proved devastating. Rome, the symbol of invincibility, had fallen. The news shattered the Roman world's confidence. Saint Jerome, writing from Bethlehem, captured the horror. When the lamp of the world was extinguished, the whole earth perished. The traditional narrative paints the Visigoths as barbaric invaders, but the reality was far more complex. These Germanic warriors had lived within Roman borders for decades, serving as federated allies and elite military units. They defended Rome's frontiers, adopted Roman customs, and converted to Christianity. Alaric himself had served as a Roman military commander, leading troops under the imperial banner. The Visigoths weren't outsiders seeking to destroy civilization. They were insiders demanding the respect, land, and payment Rome had promised them. Their relationship with the empire was one of integration, not opposition. When Rome repeatedly broke its treaties and withheld their rightful compensation, these loyal defenders found themselves transformed into desperate refugees. Stilicho stood as Rome's most capable military commander, a half-Vandal general who had defended the empire for decades. He had defeated invasion after invasion, maintained fragile peace with the Visigoths, and served as regent to the young emperor Honorius. Yet, in August 408 AD, political rivals accused him of treason, claiming he conspired with Alaric. The emperor, manipulated by xenophobic court officials, ordered his arrest. Stilicho sought sanctuary in a church at Ravenna, but soldiers dragged him out and executed him on August 22nd. His death triggered catastrophe. The army he had built immediately mutinied, and thousands of Germanic soldiers' families were massacred across Italy. These warriors, seeking vengeance, fled directly to Alaric's camp, strengthening the Visigothic forces. 45 years after Alaric's sack, Rome faced an even more devastating blow. In June 455 AD, Gaiseric led his Vandal fleet from North Africa across the Mediterranean. The Vandal king had legitimate grievances. Emperor Valentinian III had broken a marriage alliance between their families, then been assassinated. The new emperor Petronius Maximus attempted to force Valentinian's widow into marriage. She secretly appealed to Gaiseric for intervention. When the Vandals arrived at Rome's harbor, Petronius fled and was killed by his own citizens. Pope Leo I negotiated with Gaiseric, securing a promise against massacre and building destruction. For 14 days, the Vandals systematically stripped Rome of its treasures, loading ships with gold, silver, and priceless artifacts, including temple treasures looted from Jerusalem centuries earlier. The Western Roman Empire ended not with a climactic battle, but with a pension dispute. In 476 AD, Germanic mercenaries demanded land in Italy as payment for their service. The teenage emperor Romulus Augustulus, a powerless figurehead controlled by his father, refused. Their commander, Odoacer, a Syrian warrior who had risen through Roman military ranks, simply deposed the boy emperor on September 4th. No bloodshed occurred. Odoacer granted Romulus a comfortable retirement villa and generous pension. Rather than claiming the imperial title, Odoacer declared himself King of Italy and sent the imperial regalia to Constantinople, acknowledging the Eastern emperor's nominal authority. The Western throne simply ceased to exist. After centuries of gradual decline, Rome's fall came quietly. The Germanic tribes didn't invade Rome by choice. They were running for their lives. Behind them came the Huns, a nomadic force from the Eurasian steppes whose military prowess terrified even Rome's battle-hardened warriors. Under Attila's leadership in the 440s, the Huns created a vast empire stretching from the Rhine to the Caspian Sea. Their devastating cavalry tactics and scorched earth campaigns forced entire Germanic populations westward. The Visigoths, Vandals, and other tribes found themselves trapped between Hunnic aggression and Roman borders. They didn't seek to conquer Rome, they sought refuge within it. When Rome refused asylum or betrayed those it accepted, desperate tribes had no choice but to fight their way through. Rome's deadliest enemies wore Roman armor. Throughout the 4th and 5th centuries, ambitious generals turned legions against each other in devastating civil wars that accomplished what no foreign army could. Constantine fought Maxentius at the Milvian Bridge. Constantius battled usurpers across Gaul. Theodosius waged war against fellow Romans for the throne. Each conflict drained the treasury, decimated veteran legions, and left frontiers exposed. These internal struggles killed more soldiers than barbarian invasions ever did. When Germanic tribes finally entered Italy, they faced not the legendary legions of old, but exhausted remnants of armies that had spent decades killing each other. Rome's greatest military victories went to Roman rivals, not external defenders. Rome's solution to military decline became its fatal weakness. The federati system recruited entire Germanic tribes as federated allies, granting them land within Roman borders in exchange for military service. Initially brilliant, this strategy filled depleted legions without burdening Roman citizens with conscription. Germanic warriors proved fierce and loyal defenders. However, Rome's chronic failure to honor agreements poisoned the arrangement. Promised land never materialized. Payment arrived late or not at all. Treaties were broken repeatedly. These warriors remained outsiders despite their service, denied citizenship and respect. When Stilicho's execution triggered the massacre of their families, the foederati realized a brutal truth. They were expendable tools, not valued allies. Thousands deserted to Alaric, bringing Roman military training and knowledge of imperial defenses to their former enemies. Rome's walls stood strong, but its foundations were rotting from within. By the 5th century, the empire's economy had collapsed into a shadow of its former glory. Debasement of currency triggered hyperinflation that destroyed trade networks spanning 3 continents. Tax revenues plummeted as agricultural production declined and cities depopulated. Plague epidemics, including the devastating plague of Cyprian in the 3rd century, had killed millions and never fully released their grip. The famous Roman roads fell into disrepair. Aqueducts crumbled. The infrastructure that had made Rome invincible required constant maintenance the bankrupt empire could no longer afford. When Germanic tribes finally attacked, they found not the mighty Rome of legend, but a hollow shell. The invaders didn't destroy Roman civilization, they became its most devoted preservers. The Germanic kingdoms that replaced imperial authority maintained Roman law codes, administrative structures, and cultural traditions. Theodoric the Ostrogoth ruled Italy from 493 to 526, restoring aqueducts, patronizing scholars, and employing Roman senators in his government. Visigothic Spain codified Roman law for centuries of use. Frankish Gaul preserved Latin as the language of administration and learning. These barbarian kings didn't see themselves as conquerors ending an era, but as legitimate successors continuing Rome's legacy. They minted coins with imperial imagery, claimed Roman titles, and married into Roman aristocratic families. The transformation proved so gradual that many Romans barely noticed the change. Rome's fall teaches us that empires crumble from within before external forces finish them. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to explore more untold history and share this with fellow history enthusiasts.